Hi, this is Damon Cart coming to you from Santa Cruz, California, the birthplace of NLP. And I wanted to take some time to go back over some smaller pieces of NLP that a lot of people gloss over, don't pay much attention to. And what we're about in NLP Gym is really making sure that we break those pieces down and work on them until we get them in the muscle. So it's not something you have to constantly go back and revisit, but I think what happens a lot of times in trainings are people just they go over this one day and they don't revisit it and they don't really fully understand it. They understand it on a conceptual level, but it would help them out a lot more in their NLP understanding and their NLP practice if they took it just a little bit deeper. So what I want to talk about today in this video is the concept of present state and desired state. And why do we even call that present state and desired state? Why isn't it more about outcome? Why is it more about, well, I don't have a lot of money now and I want to make a lot of money? Why do we say present state and desired state? Well, because the truth is that regardless of any goal that you want to accomplish, any material possession that you want to sort of manifest in your life, it really comes down to what state are you trying to access? What state do you want to be in? Because green paper in your wallet or numbers in your bank account doesn't necessarily create a state. Now, for most of us, it will trigger us to go into a state of maybe it's security, maybe it's abundance. But we have to make that connection, we have to make that meaning, and we don't all make the same meanings out of all things, out of all objects. We're all different people, we all create meanings. That's what makes us different. So when we think about present state and desired state, this also goes to, well, I'm unhappy now, and that is my present state, and I want to become happy. So that's not really an object or an outcome, it's not an accomplishment, it's more about how you're feeling. So what is it, the state, in something that you want, what state will that put you in when you have that thing? And if we can focus on that and understand the state that we're trying to get in, then it gives us more information about the present state that we're in, where we feel like we're lacking something and we're not whole. So the first time when I'm coaching someone, most often, when I ask them, and this is usually one of my first questions, if not the first question, is what do you want? So often people immediately tell me what they don't want. And that kind of tells me a little bit about where they are. It's also not a bad place to start. You can start there. It's not a problem, but it also tells me that they've thought very well about what they don't want. And if you think a lot about what you don't want, you're most likely going to get it. Not only because that's your focus and that's what you're training your mind on, it's because you're putting yourself in a particular state, a state of lack, a state of needing something, a state of not being whole, because you're focusing on the thing that you don't want. When you start to focus on what it is that you do want, at least you have a direction. And it puts you in a different state. And you have to be careful with this too. If you focus too much on what you want and you're not present, you can give yourself a sense of lack there as well. So that's not what we want to do. What we want to do is we want to get clear about the state that we're in, that something feels missing, that we don't have everything that we want, or that we're unhappy, or we're experiencing a state that is something other than what we want to experience. The next place to go is to say, okay, so if I'm experiencing this, then what state do I want to be in? What state would be optimal? Now, that might not be an easy leap for some people. They might not be able to go there right away. They might have to think about the actual accomplishment they want to accomplish or the material object that they want, and that's fine. So if that's where you go, and let's say it's an issue about money, because this comes up a lot, you don't have all the money that you want. And so what is your present state when you are experiencing not having all the money that you want? Well, it could be, like we had gone over already, lack, or it can make you feel insecure, it can make you even feel sad, it can even make you feel like a failure. Now think about what is it that you do want, and you might say, well, I want more money, okay? And you'd want to get very clear about that using a well-formed outcome, exactly how you're going to go about that and the specifics around that. But before going there, get very clear about what state you believe that it will access for you when you have that object or when you have that money. And that's really what you're aiming at. That's really what your purpose is. So think about, what is that object or accomplishing that goal? What state will that put you in? And then once you understand that, act as if, and this is the as if frame, act as if you already have it. And what is that like when you already have that? And what state does that put you in? So when you access that, which takes some imagination, and the reason why the as if frame works is because you're basically stepping out of your map of the world, you're stepping out of your model, you're stepping out of your boundaries, and using your imagination to access something outside of that. And when you do that, you can then access that state. When you access that state, now you have access to those resources, and that's really the bridge between the present state and the desired state, is what resource do you need in order to get from one to the other. And when you do use the as if frame and you go into that state of having what you want, then it becomes a little bit clearer about what's missing. What is the resource that's missing? The other thing that we use here is the presupposition that we already have all the resources that we need. It's already within us. And we want to be in a state where we have access to all of our resources. If we're feeling like we're missing something, then it's not that we don't have the resource, it's just we're in a state that is limiting us from accessing that resource. So what resource do we need to put in place in order to get to that other state that we want? Now, you might be thinking, well, okay, I can put myself in that state, but I still don't have the money that I want, or I'm still not accomplishing the goals that I want to accomplish. When you're in that optimal state and you're able to access resources you couldn't access before, you're far more likely going to be able to accomplish the things that you want, being in that resourceful state. The reason why you're not accomplishing what you want is because you're in that non-resourceful state. And there could be more reasons to that too. It could be you're lacking a plan, you're lacking maybe some outside resource like an expert or someone who can help you figure out, or mentor who can help you navigate your way to accomplishing what it is you want to accomplish. But first and foremost, you have to be in a resourceful state in order to figure out what it is that you need and to access resources within yourself and outside of yourself. So the state is, you might not be able to access the goal or the material object that you want right away, but you can access the state right away. The state is always something that you have control over, whether you know it or not, or whether you're aware of it or not. You do have control over it, and that is what NLP, and one of the main parts of NLP is getting control over your states, over your programming. So access the state of the resources that you need in order to accomplish what you want, and then put yourself there. And then if you need to cultivate that resource even further, maybe you need to work on that a little bit to get you from that present state to the desired state. A lot of people, like I said, I think a lot of people go through NLP training and really don't get this concept and really don't understand this concept well enough to employ it, really put it into use in your life. And it's really very simple, and the more you do it, the more you realize you do have control. And anytime you're experiencing a state that you don't want to experience, the more you do this, the easier it will become to put you in the state that you need to be in order to accomplish what it is you want to accomplish.